Athena.
Let us begin our tale with a mortal man and his wife, King Aenor and Queen Telephassa of the city of Tyre, for their children had quite the roles to play in the stories of the gods. Their sons were Cadmus, Phoenix, Cilix, Thasus, and their one daughter was Europa. I am the Greek goddess Athena, and this is the tale of a hero. For the children of this king and queen were sent to far-off lands, all in search of their sister. Our tale truly begins with the reason she was missing, my father. For she had caught the eye of Zeus with her beauty and her kind heart. But that is a tale for another time. For now, all you must know is that she was taken from her family, snatched and stashed away on an island they knew not where. But the brothers still went to search, and search they did. Phoenix, however, was the first to quit the quest, settling to create his own city, named after himself, known as Phoenicia. And then there were three, Cilix, Thasus, and Cadmus left. Cilix hunted for a time, but he too grew tired and settled in far-off isles, his own ego prevailing just as his brother before him. He named it after himself, Cilicia. Now only Thasos and Cadmus travelled, still on the hunt for their sister. But how can mortal wills compare to those of the gods? Of course, they would never find her. Thasus learnt this in time, and he too settled with his part of the forces their father had sent out with them. The island he chose would be known as Thasus. Of course, mortal men, always looking for glory and to prove themselves, for honour and to be remembered. But deeds speak louder than words. Only Cadmus was left, and he was resolved to never end his search. As his sister's face soon began to fade in his memory, he turned in desperation to an oracle. Not just any oracle, but the oracle of Delphi herself. Cadmus, now a weary prince, asked the great oracle in her temple,
I seek my sister, stolen from our homelands. Please, mighty oracle, tell me where to find her. My brothers call our quest hopeless. They long for me to retire the hunt. Perhaps they hope to forget and heal the loss, but my parents' hearts still break. So, please, tell me where the foul beasts took her.
The oracle before him, her eyes shut, and the next time she opened them, they were a milky white, with a soft glow. Her voice seemed to echo in the temple around him.
O Prince, the prize you seek is past the hands of mortals. I only see the essence of the gods, and know not where she is, for they do not wish me to see. I cannot help you in the search for your sister. Only the immortals may interfere now. But I see the future for you. Fame, glory, a city of your own. This is your fate. You must follow a cow with a moon on its back. You will both travel far to seek the land to call your own. But when the beast stops for rest, you will know this is the place to build your kingdom. Sacrifice must be made. Sacrifice the cow to the gods. on the exact spot it stops, and they shall bless your new city. And a mighty king you shall be. The child of God will be your wife, and your children will be known throughout time. Seek not your sister, for she is long gone to you. Create your settlement. Secure your name in history. This is your destiny.
Cadmus was torn. How could he give up his quest? How could he give up his sister? But if the oracle were true, then he would waste his life searching for this sister and never find peace. Cadmus walked the city and contemplated what to do. Day became night, and he just sat, until a brown cow came walking toward him. As it passed, he saw it, a flash of white lit by moonlight. A crescent moon in the rump of the cow. And he knew what he had to do. He coaxed the cow until he had a rope around its head. There, he led the cow to his small army of men and marched. The cow led them across the land, not stopping for days, past fields and rivers, beside mountains and deserts, until they could walk no more. The cow, so thirsty, hungry, and exhausted from the walk, crumbled into the dirt, its legs folding beneath it. Cadmus broke into a smile and gathered his weapons. As he did so, he saw the dirt on his hands, the filth that covered the cow and his men. And he knew that he must find pure water for the sacrifice. Cadmus stayed with the cow, and he sent his men out to hunt for water. It did not take them long to come across a stream of clear water. Not just any spring, brook, or river. This water was different, for this was a sacred spring, blessed by the god Ares. So the mortal soldiers began to fill their vessels to take back to their prince. Then they noticed the opening to the cave. They did not return. Not one. Cadmus waited with the exhausted bull until the sun was low in the skies. With dusk approaching, he tied up the sleeping bull and set off to find his men. His thoughts turned to rage as he marched, for he thought they had disobeyed. Gone against his direct commands, that they had stayed at whatever waterhole they had found to bathe and relax, instead of attending to their mission. But as he followed the footsteps and heard the waters, he heard no sound of his men. Nothing at all, but a low growling. He stayed in the foliage as he found the start of the sacred spring, peeking through the leaves, hoping to catch his soldiers in the act of disloyalty. His face twisted into horror as he saw the spring sullied. The grounds were covered with blood and chunks of bodies, scattered limbs and destroyed weapons. But the worst sight was the creature hunched over a corpse, feasting. Vicious claws, scaled body with a swinging tail, and mighty wings. This was the Ismenian dragon, set to guard the spring of Ares. Cadmus was terrified of the beast at first. Luckily, its attention was still on its meal. As he observed it, he saw the scene in more detail, the faces of his fallen friends. And the rage overcame him. But he did not let it lead him to their fate. No, Cadmus was clever and devised a cunning strategy. The dragon kept its attention to the bodies before it, as Cadmus snuck and climbed above it. for he spotted the cave and scaled the rocky walls. From above the beast, he dropped a single pebble to the ground. The dragon's head shot up, its eyes snapped to the source of the sound on the floor, and it slithered with shocking speed. Cadmus struck then, before the moment was lost. He jammed his spear into the loose rocks, hard. A cascade of boulders fell from the cave opening and onto the scaled body of the beast. It began to shriek with pain and mighty roars that shook the ground. But Cadmus had caught its tail in the rock slides. As it writhed and scrambled, Cadmus jumped. He leapt down with a war cry from his lungs and fire in his heart. He struck the creature straight in the neck. Blood sprung from the wound between its dark scales, but Cadmus kept pushing, his javelin sinking deeper and further into its flesh. Blood coated his hands and arms. The dragon whipped its claws around, trying to snatch at Cadmus, but it couldn't, and the spear tip burst through the other side of its muscled neck. The dragon's fighting became weaker, but Cadmus kept pushing. Screaming his pain, he kept pushing until the spear point was buried in a tree trunk, pinning the beast. It gasped ragged breaths then, as more blood soaked the ground. Black bile joining the red. Cadmus stared down and saw the fear in the creature's eyes. Just before the light left them, and it was over. The dragon was dead. Cadmus stood before the stream and washed the blood from his hands, his men in pieces around him, the spring tinged with pink. He collapsed and let out one final cry before he walked to the source of the stream and gathered the waters he needed and returned to the crescent-spotted cow. His mission fueling him on through the grief and loss. When he arrived back at the cow's side, Selene, the goddess of the moon, was making her appearance in our skies. Cadmus washed himself, then the cow, then finally his knife. He killed the cow on the exact spot it collapsed earlier that day, as the oracle had said. He chanted the prayers as he worked, preparing bones slathered in fat and a fire. In the dawn light, he put the sacrifices into the full flame, the smoke rising into the clouds, and Cadmus whispered,
I give this sacrifice in the name of Athena.
My name. This sacrifice was for me. Inspired by his tactics, his fight, and his grief, I appeared before him in a spark of golden light. The mighty prince then knelt before me.
You honor me with your presence, glorious goddess from above. But how must I continue? I followed the instructions given by the Oracle of Delphi, but I am alone. The dragon killed all my men, and I know not what to do.
The creature you killed had great power, and yet you defeated it. This power belongs to you now. It will give you all you shall need. Take its teeth, Prince of Tyre, and become King of Cadmea.
My eyes shone with power, and he went back to the bloody scene. It took time for him to smash the skull of the creature and pry its bones from its jaw. But he hauled them back gathered in the cloak, slung on his back. Carefully, he dug holes and placed a single tooth in each. I passed my hand above each planted spot of earth. The teeth grew impossibly fast, and the earth beneath us began to rumble. The teeth bursting one by one from the dirt, human in shape, with strength and impressive size. Cadmus, in his fear of their strangeness, threw a rock amidst them. One was hit to the side of the head, and it whipped around to lunge at the fighter beside him. This small fight quickly grew as a fast shot hit another innocent bystander. He joined the fight. Their accuracy after being born in that minute was awful. And soon this duel became a true battle, each toothed warrior in some skirmish with another, until all were battling. I urged Cadmus to stand back. The toothed warriors matching in strength and strategy, but some grew accustomed to their limbs quicker than others. They began to drop as they had emerged from the ground, one by one. Some battles lasted longer, but all with a clear winner standing. As the losers hit the ground, their bodies blew away into the winds, like ashes, to leave white dragon teeth in their wake. They slashed and jabbed, punched and fought, until there were only 5 left standing. The best of the warriors, they had fought the hardest, not just with brute strength, but with smarts, planning, timing. Then they moved towards Cadmus and I. A rock was clenched in the closest warrior's hand. I raised my own, and they all stopped. All thought of battle, of death, suddenly soothed and gone from their minds. They stepped into a neat row before Cadmus as he drew his sword. But then they knelt before him, swearing to serve him forevermore. Cadmus looked pleased as he announced,
"Come, my warriors, my Spartoi, and together we shall build a new place, a new city."
And they got to work. At first, they called the city Cadmea, after Cadmus himself. In time, it will be known as Thebes. The warriors from Dragon Tooth, many great families, spawn from them. Cadmus, however, would come to pay a great price, for the dragon was no ordinary dragon guarding sacred waters. This dragon was a son of Ares, and a favorite. Ares did not know of the killing of his beloved son, but when he found out, the god of war brought his rage to Thebes, taking their founder, their king, into his servitude for years. But that is a tale for another time.